everybody doing this morning? That is what I like to hear. Well, I am absolutely thrilled to be here. My husband is a big J.Hilburn fan. He's been wearing J.Hilburn for the past 6 years. I have no idea how he met that pretty stylist, but we won't go there. And fashion is truly a passion for me. So anytime I get to bring my marketing and branding expertise or millennial flair to the table with a fashion brand, it's just that much more exciting for me. So we have a lot to cover within the next 90 minutes. My goal for every workshop, for every training, for every keynote, for every conversation that I get to have with people in the room is to do a few things. First of all, how many of you have millennial children? Wow, like everybody, amazing. How many of you have Gen Z children? Okay, fantastic. Well, hopefully today, not only will I help to give you a new perspective on this very misunderstood, coveted generation, millennials, also give you a little more insight into maybe your children, and how your children think about their purchasing decisions just as your clients and customers do. Before we get into all of the good stuff, I'd like to share my story with you and help educate you as how I got into the world of millennials and became one of America's leading millennial influencers. Excuse me, I had that wicked flu and I still have a little congestion, so excuse me. So, I'd like to take you over a decade back to 2007. Anyone remember 2007? Feels like 100 years ago. Well, the iPhone was in its infancy. Social media was in its infancy. And truly, YouTube was live and for cat videos. MySpace was kind of weird and for pedophiles. And Facebook was for sharing anything and everything you're doing, whether it's what you had for breakfast, where you went to school, who you were in a relationship with, right? It was so not used for marketing or business purposes. So there truly was this evolution. And back in 2007, think about it. Social media was just at its bubbling, and there was really not a bunch of programming for millennials. There wasn't many platforms for this new generation to communicate, to learn from one another, to voice their opinion, to have their opinions heard, to connect and collaborate with people outside of their community, outside of their school. If you think about the programming back in 2007, it was truly MTV and Disney Channel. And there's only so much Miley Cyrus I could handle at that time. So I started taking my own frustrations about the lack of a platform after hearing all of my idols like Barbara Walters and Oprah Winfrey and Diane Sawyer and Katie Couric starting to talk about the teenagers, the next generation. The word millennial did not even exist. And it was all these negative things: lazy, entitled, narcissistic, I kid you not, the demise of the future, never going to supersede their parents. And I was just like, well, this is real empowering. And I was living in Delray Beach, Florida, went to public high school. I was in my sophomore year of high school and already thinking about ACTs and SATs and college prep. I see a lot of head nodding. Yep, some of you in that space right now with your children. And all of my friends and I were so hungry for success. We had lists of colleges we were applying to, and we were breaking out in hives from nerves about these tests. And I said, you know, there's no empowering platform or motivating platform. Look at all of us just wanting to succeed in life and really defeat these stereotypes that we kept hearing. So in high school, we had a wonderful television production program. And my first day of TV production, it was just this lightning rod effect that happened for me. The day before that first day of class, if you asked me, Chelsea, what do you want to do when you grow up? I would have told you veterinarian. I am the real life Dr. Dolittle right here. The next day, everything changed. I realized that there was such an opportunity to execute a message, share a story, communicate with others, debunk myths, open up new perspectives. And I wanted to do that for me and my peers. So I turned frustration into creativity. and put together what I knew at 16 years old to be a radio talk show treatment called Teen Talk Live. And the purpose of Teen Talk Live was to create a platform to inspire, empower, connect. Our voice, our opinion, our time to talk was our slogan, our tagline. I took it to a local AM radio station, a Clear Channel affiliate, WBZT, and me and my 16-year-old self walked into the room, sat down at this very intimidating, long, Last Supper-like dinner table, and waiting there nice and patiently, and I see this nice gentleman walk into the room. No offense, but 60-plus, white male with horrible fashion. And I'm like, okay, this is my audience here, I'm in for it. So I do my pitch, I say my spiel, and he had the best poker face you've ever seen in your life. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, this is over before it even started. And he got up and left the room. And I sat there, and I said, wow, well, that was great feedback. And I sat there, and I was like, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Remember, the iPhone was in its infancy, so I couldn't scroll through Instagram, just sitting there. 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, and I'm still sitting there. And I was like, all right, it's kicking in. I think I have to go to the bathroom now. Finally, the door opens, and the gentleman walks back into the room, hands me a contract, and says, Chelsea, I want to help you start your career. And when he said that, it also was another lightning bolt effect. I never thought of it as a career. It was a passion project. It was something that I was so motivated and inspired and felt that I needed to do. And I said, okay, I accept this challenge. And within the next 3 months, the first Teen Talk Live show happened, and it really was a tremendous success. I was the youngest radio talk show host and producer in the country, catering and creating a show for teenagers, hosted by teenagers. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And you know what started to happen that I could have never imagined in a million years? Just as many parents and grandparents were calling into the show, messaging into the show, listening to the show, because they too wanted to have a better understanding of their children and their grandchildren. And they too realized that there was an evolution in the world happening with technology and social media and smartphones. And I realized that this was bigger than I could have ever imagined. Within the first 6 months of Teen Talk Live being on air, we were picked up in every publication. It was just a whirlwind. By the time I was 18, I started creating content for CBS and Fox in Florida, all about the millennial generation. What's the mindset like? What's our consumer purchase behavior? How do we think? How do we operate? How are we different from previous generations? And it's so funny, if you go back on my YouTube and you go back to like the 2008 clips, every single interview starts with, Chelsea, now tell me, what is a millennial? And 12 years later, I'm still teaching people what millennials are. But let me tell you something, everyone. In 2019, the time is now to understand and acknowledge that the millennial generation is not going anywhere. And that we are only getting older, and we are only getting wiser, and we are only coming into more money. Which means we need to be on the lookout for those millennial consumers. As I grew and as I became more mature within my teen years and started to work my way into college, when I graduated high school, I put together, after this beautiful, let me see if my fancy laser pointer, can you see that? No. All right, never mind. This beautiful woman, Christine Uizu, was a Rwandan refugee and was in Florida on visa from a very good family friend who was her sponsor. And when I was interviewing her on Teen Talk Live, she took a moment and she paused. And she said, Chelsea, you have no idea how lucky you are. And you can imagine what I thought. Family, food, shelter, opportunity, education. And she said, because you have unlimited feminine hygiene products. Okay, That was a curveball. And on radio, the last thing you ever want to create is dead air. I had about good 15 seconds of dead air after that one. And I said, Christine, help me understand why feminine hygiene products. And she said, Chelsea, because women in Africa don't have access to these feminine hygiene products. So we have to miss school multiple days a month. And that really compounds to the point where some of us don't graduate, can't get a diploma. And in Africa, if you don't have a diploma, it's very hard to get a job. And unfortunately, many women have to be the providers in the family. And it all falls on our shoulders. So you can imagine the explosion in my brain when she really painted that picture. And as soon as the show ended, I turned to my mother, who's my best friend, and said, Mom, we have to do something. Like, we have to do something. And she was already taking notes, like she was already ahead of me. So long story short, we put together our first family mission trip to Africa. Kotex and Delta were sponsors, and we brought hundreds of thousands of sanitary hygiene products to Nairobi, Kenya, in the Masai Mara region. You know those humongous camp duffels that you could fit like 10 bodies in? We literally brought those onto the plane, and hundreds of thousands of sanitary. So when I was rolling into the slums of Nairobi, Kenya, and the AIDS orphanages, the children's orphanages, the women's orphanages, I thought, okay, I'm gonna pull up with all these sanitary hygiene products. Are they gonna look at me like I'm crazy? And when we started unzipping those bags and handing out all of these little pink packets, you would have thought they were $100 bills. These women knew what access to these products meant for them and their future. And seeing that impact made me that much more inspired and passionate to further create a difference in any way that I could. Passion does lead to profit if it really stems from passion. And when I got back from Africa, I had brought along a CBS and Fox camera with me. So CBS and Fox created a 4-part docuseries that aired in South Florida of our mission trip. And 3 months later, after I had moved to New York for college, I got a phone call that would also change my career forever. And it was from Kotex asking me to be their first ever Millennial spokesperson for the brand You by Kotex. Anybody familiar with You by Kotex, the black box on the shelf, the only black box on the shelf? So in 2009, I was 18 years old, a freshman in college, and helping Kotex build that brand from scratch. Everything from the concept, the messaging, the package design, the digital presence, the tour that we were going to go on and empower and speak to young middle school and elementary school girls about their body and women's empowerment and being confident in themselves. And this was a very pivotal time because without the term being coined, Kotex had really started the influencer marketing movement. How many of you are familiar with the term influencer marketing? Fantastic. So mind you, this is of the first year, in 2009, that I heard the term millennial. 2009, we're in 2019. And it was the first time that a brand had really tapped this everyday person, not Selena Gomez, not Kendall Jenner, not Hannah Montana, right? This everyday person, Chelsea Krost, teenager from Delray Beach, Florida, to advocate on behalf of their brand. And this was the beginning of the marketing that we know today. And it's so important for all of us to really understand that what marketing and branding worked in the past is really changed for the future. And I say that working with my 1-year Kotex contract turned into 5 years working together. And I say it was my master's in influencer marketing because it was everything. It was the birth child of influencer marketing. So over the past decade, it has been my absolute pleasure to really be the bridge between millennial consumer group and brand, between millennial consumer and entrepreneur, business owner. All of you in the room are business owners, right? You're independent contractors, and you are all running your own show. I love working with entrepreneurs just as much as I do big businesses, because all of you incredible women, I love seeing the amount of women in this room too, we have the opportunity to really build a business with the power of a laptop or an iPhone and a single post on social media. The access that we have is unbelievable, and that we just need to know how to tap into it so that we can further understand how to market to this generation and further build out our client base. Does that sound like something everybody's interested in for this year? Yeah, right? So, with that being said, let's jump into it. I invite everyone to pull out paper, pen, iPhone. Feel free to snap images of slides that inspire you and share to the world. And tag me at Chelsea Krost and tag at J.Hilburn, of course. And just don't worry, you will all get these slides emailed to you as well. So, who are millennials? Millennials, also known as Gen Y, which I'm sure many of you also have heard the term Gen Y, as well as millennial. Now, millennials have a very large age bracket, 22 to 37 years old. There's a lot that goes on between 22 and 37, wouldn't you say? Yeah. Which makes the millennial generation that much more diverse, complex, and we have to understand the niches within this very large bracket so we can refine our marketing strategy and refine our marketing messaging to appeal to this large, broad audience. We are 80 million plus in the US alone. We are officially the largest generation on the planet. We will make up 75% of the US workforce by 2025. And we are the most ethically and racially diverse generation, also feeding into why we need to diversify and personalize our messaging more than ever today when it comes to marketing. Also, one of the things that I love about my generation is our ability to really not put ourselves in a box so much. How many of you love browsing through your son's clothes or your husband's clothes? How many of you also have noticed that gender neutrality, all those new bathrooms, right? The gender neutral bathrooms. Being that we're in the fashion space, gender neutrality is really important because we are looking at the way we purchase clothes and decide what kind of clothes we want to wear with a more neutral lens than ever today. Millennials across the globe are digital natives. We are the first generation to really grow up with the internet. I still remember that dial-up internet sound. Do you remember that horrible noise? My brother, who's 25, barely remembers that noise. So we are truly the first generation that understands no internet to dial-up internet to internet at our fingertips today. That one example of growing up with the internet, that one element in our adulthood and childhood has created a monumental shift and created a different attitude, work mentality, engagement methods, and of course, purchasing behavior. All of that has created a shift within the way we need to market to this consumer group, which demands us to think digital, social, and mobile. And think about it, we have unlimited access thanks to our handy-dandy smartphones. The millennial consumer spending power is massive. We are the largest generation on the planet, and we officially have the largest combined spending power on the planet. So for anyone who doesn't think that they should be thinking about millennial consumers, you're missing out on billion-dollar market share. It's a lot of money, right? In 2017, we officially hit $200 billion annual in spending power as a generation. In 2019, we're closer to $600 billion in spending power. And in our lifetime, it's estimated we will spend $10 trillion. Now, even though we are the largest generation on the planet, even though we have the largest combined spending power on the planet, we have a however. About 70% of students graduating college today leave with student loan debt. 17 million student loan borrowers under the age of 30 in the US. The average college student graduating today has about $30,000 of student loan debt. This, however, is creating a shift. Yes, we have money as a combined spending group, but because of the student loan debt crisis, because of the credit card debt crisis facing this generation, it has made us savvier digital shoppers, meaning that we really need to justify the purchase. We really need to feel that that purchase is bringing value to our life. And we will go the extra mile to justify and validate that purchase before we swipe the credit card or hand over the cash. 80% of millennials use their phones to research prices before making a purchase. How many of you do that? Right? Do you even think about doing it? You just go to do it. It's just natural at this point. It's like, maybe Amazon has it for $5 less, right? You can always go back to Amazon. With the rise in credit card debt, student loan debt, with the ability to whip out our phones and price compare on the spot, this has created the rise of ROPO, research online, purchase offline. 54% of online buyers read reviews before purchase, and 39% of in-store buyers read online reviews before purchase. This generation is incredibly influenced by peer approval. How many of you will not go to a new restaurant until you've heard a recommendation from a friend, a family member, or they have glowing reviews that make you feel confident to go there on your Saturday night? I bet more of you need to be raising your hand right now. It's just simple. We have the ability to further validate our purchase decision because of the amount of content being created by users today, by customers today, by tourists today, to say, oh, I should go to that restaurant. Oh, I want to see that movie. Oh, I need to buy that brand of clothes. So, in order to convert social followers to customers, we need to do a few things. And why focus on converting social followers to customers? Because guess what? As a millennial, more likely than not, if they don't know of the brand or the product or the service or the experience already, they're most likely going to discover it on social media. So, as we start to learn more about how to leverage social media for building out our consumer base, but also our teams, which we will get to throughout the presentation, of course, we need to also think about every follower we accrue on our Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter could be converted into a customer. And they could be learning about you, your service, and what products you offer for the first time on your social media profile. So, we want to start thinking about the strategy we can create and implement and roll out for ourselves on our personal channels, in addition to J.Hilburn's channels, to increase the customer journey, to enhance the customer journey. And what is the customer journey? The customer journey is everything from discovery to purchase, right? The first time someone finds the brand or finds you to deciding to purchase it. Here is really, I like this flow chart here. Discovery, right? The first time they find you on social. Then they're going to explore your feed. What kind of content are they posting? What do they sell? What do they have to offer? Do they feel that they resonate with you and your personal story? Then maybe they're going to engage in you next. Start to like your photos, share your content, comment on your videos or images. Then purchase. Experience. How has that experience been once they purchased your product? Positive or negative? If it's positive, more likely or not, they're going to share it with their friends. They're going to share it with their family. They're going to share it with their followers. So this is the type of flow that all of us should be thinking about in marketing to millennials and how to use social to our advantage. We're going to talk more about the consumer journey map. So, in order to create a successful consumer journey, in order to create and convert all these social followers into customers, we need to think of how we could be the solution. And in order to be the solution, we have to define our target consumer market, right? Remember I said there's a very large age bracket when it comes to millennials? So who is your consumer, target consumer, within that broad age range? We need to evaluate the demographics of these people. What are their values? What do they need? What are their pain points so that you could be the solution? We need to be where our audience is. Just because you post something on Instagram, just because you post something on Facebook, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to find you. You need to know where they are so that you can engage in them and create that consumer journey map to flow back to discovery, to engagement, to purchase. And of course, we need to position our service or product, which we really have both within J.Hilburn, right? We're providing a service in personal styling, but also the product in the clothes. So to position both the service and the product as the solution to our consumers' needs. The reality is you cannot blanket market to millennials. You cannot blanket market to Gen Zers, which are the generation under millennials. We need to identify who our client is, where they are online, so that we can personalize our messaging. Now, I'm sure many of you have baby boomer and Gen Xers within their client base already, correct? Primarily, how many of you are currently working with millennial customers? Awesome, yes, fantastic. So think about it. You already have this nice base of baby boomer and Gen Xer clients, and now, as we start to learn more about millennials, the mindset, how to market to them, what makes them tick, we could start to broaden our marketing strategy to appeal to really the next generation of consumers, right? Because who is the next generation of suit buyers and tuxedo buyers? It's millennials. Might not be the 22-year-old millennial, but the 22-year-old millennial in 5 years will be a totally different story of them entering into the workforce, getting married, right? So we can't say, they're too young. No, the time is now. The time is here. And guess what? If you don't start it now, the competition will. So if you want to be competitive, and if you want us to continue to be at base camp next year, and if you want your team to be at base camp next year, the time is now to start thinking like a millennial. So let's really talk about all the different micro markets within the millennial generation, being that we have this very large age bracket. I have defined 6 millennial micro markets within the overall generation to really help personalize our messaging, to help really pinpoint who our niche consumer group is. What needs or desire does each of these niche groups have when it comes to fashion? I love seeing all the photos. So, let's talk about the first age group, college students. Of course, this is the lowest age bracket on the millennial spectrum, and we're bordering Gen Z millennial here within this age range, 18 to 23 years old. So let's think about this audience. They're in college. They're going to formal events, right? College formal events. Greek life, such a big part of the university. Internships. Yet, most likely their parents are helping them financially. Just these 4 bullets within the demographics of a college student, don't you already start to see how you could speak to this demographic versus the 30-year-old millennial? Yeah, I see a lot of heads. I love nodding heads. Yes. Boomerang babies. Why are they called boomerang babies? Some of you may know this or be living it. Because of the student loan debt crisis, because of the credit card debt crisis, because of the astronomical cost of living today, many college students who graduate are coming to live back with mom and dad so they can get back on their 2 feet, so they can earn a little money, save a little money, and afford rent, right? Different mindset. those who are graduated versus who's in their sophomore year of college, correct? Job interviews, career fairs, networking summits. The wedding season really starts to kick in around this age demographic. And of course, it's entry-level income here. Already different from number one's group, college students. Millennial hustlers. I love this group. I happen to fall right in this group. And to clear up any curiosity, I am 27 years old and will be turning 28 in 2 weeks, I think, February 2nd. Millennial hustlers. Why millennial hustlers? Because on average, the amount of millennials within this bracket are starting their first business. Millennials are the most entrepreneurial generation on the planet, already have created more businesses and earned more income in those businesses than previous generations at an early age. So many of times within this age bracket, after that entry-level job or working for the man, they're starting to already think about how they can run their own show, build their own business. Entrepreneurial, fashionable, looking for that work attire that makes them look sophisticated, sharp, and professional, really hitting the dating scene, right? And of course, weddings and events. Millennial mom and dad, those 29 to 32. Now, doesn't the mindset, the values, and pain points of a parent totally change from those who aren't a parent, correct? So the first things first, convenience. There's already not enough time in the day. Then add a newborn to the mix. We need to think about convenient quick fixes. Class. As a parent, there's another element of class and sophistication. Right now we have to be a role model for our children. Style, price point. For new parents who are spending so much money on that newborn, you know that they're that much more aware of where their money is being spent. And many men are just looking to make their wife happy, right, with what they wear every day. Cuspers, 32 to 35 years old. Why are they called cuspers? Because they're truly on the cusp of millennial and Gen Xers. This age demographic, of course, is coming into bigger leadership roles. They've been in the workforce for now quite a bit. Maybe they're working their way up into the C level, which means more leadership, more income. A lot of this demographic is also traveling for work. We know traveling for work usually means business attire and more financial independence, of course. Now, millennials at heart. This is kind of on the end of the spectrum here for millennial, bordering into Gen X, of course. And I like to say that this age group really likes to identify as millennial or that they are not a millennial. And of course, the ones that identify millennials, I always say you are a millennial at heart. And they want to stay on trend. They have no time or patience for shopping. They're looking for quality products and services and the convenience factor. Did just breaking down those 6 micro markets in a few bullets help start to give you some inspiration and thought of, oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to take that as a yes. So here is a wonderful chart to really help you do a deeper dive back at home with your team or yourself to really further define who that millennial customer is and could be that your team wants to go market and tackle. Doing a target audience demographics chart really helps paint the picture for your branding and marketing and content creation efforts. So this is a great thing I like to do as a team and get your team involved. So this chart, of course, by the time you're done with this chart, it's going to really help define where your audience is on social media. Now, first things first, it all boils down to industry, right? And being that we're in the fashion industry here, we know we need to be on channels that are primarily very visual focus, right? So Instagram and Pinterest and YouTube are, of course, going to be more on the popular side for those in the fashion space. However, we need to understand the landscape of all social channels so that we can pick and choose wisely where we want to commit and spend our time and energy and potentially ad dollars. Instagram is going to be everybody's most important channel here. I see some cringing faces. Everyone's most important channel here, in addition to LinkedIn. And why isn't LinkedIn even on this chart? Because I'm not giving you a choice. You must be on LinkedIn. Why? LinkedIn is everybody's living digital resume. I love that you finished my sentence with me, girl. Yes. Everybody has the opportunity to really know who you are, what you're about, and where to connect because of LinkedIn. So do yourself a favor and, of course, create a LinkedIn profile for yourself, for your company, in addition to really understanding where else your audience might be on social media, in addition to your LinkedIn channel. So important, as we broke down the 6 millennial micro markets, it was starting to become more evident in the values and the needs of the different pockets within the millennial generation, within the different niche audiences within the millennial generation. Now, we are not a cheap company here at J.Hilburn, right? We are quality, beautiful, and will last you a long time product, right? I'm not going to say some other brands, but we all know who some of those cheaper brands are, okay? So we need to help the millennial and the customer justify cost versus value. Here is so as we move through some of the next slides, we're going to start to paint the picture of what do millennials value when deciding whether to purchase a product or purchase a brand's product or not. First things first, quality, customization, and instant gratification are all incredibly important and highly valued amongst this generation of consumers. Think about Chipotle for a second. Think of how fast Chipotle exploded on the scene. We were able to customize our meal, have a hearty, big meal, right? Not like a lettuce leaf for $20. And we all knew it was quality ingredients. We knew it was sustainable products. They were very transparent about where they were sourcing their foods, their ingredients. It was also quick, good price point, quality food. So I always like to kind of give Chipotle as just a broad example of what I mean by quality customization and instant gratification. You don't have to wait and sit at a table, right? You're watching the people do it right in front of you. J.Hilburn and personal styling really does feed into these values as well, wouldn't you say? Quality clothes. You can customize your clothes with a personal stylist, down to the color of the button. And instant gratification, meaning that the stylist can literally show up at your door or show up where you are. And the turnaround time is about 4 weeks, which is pretty good for being able to design quality clothes that is measured to you. So these are all things to think about of how your products that you offer your clients are already feeding into the values of this generation's mindset. One of the biggest values is experience. How many of your children are dying to go to those music festivals like Bonnaroo and Coachella? Yep. It's all about the experience for this generation. We thrive on it. We seek it out. Who's heard the acronym FOMO? Fear of missing out. We have serious FOMO this generation, and we're all looking to be a part of the next best experience. All brands, all business owners, all entrepreneurs need to think about how they're creating an experience for their customer so that that experience is something that they value, they're excited about, and they can't wait to share with their friends, family, and on social media. Think about the experience that personal styling has to offer. Think about the experience you offer to every one of your clients. Personalize, customize, real-time engagement, right? Again, we're already feeding into the mindset of this generation. We just need to paint the picture of what we have to offer to this consumer group. We need you to paint the picture of the experience you provide for each of your customers. Experience is what pulls us in. Make your customers have FOMO by if they don't work with you. How can you create FOMOs? How can you create the FOMO for your followers, for your customers, so that they can't wait to hire and work with you again? Authenticity, transparency, social good component, sustainability. These are all things that millennials do value. Authenticity and transparency, meaning tell us where the clothes are from. Tell us how long it takes. Tell us what factories you work with. Authenticity, meaning being authentic in your messaging, right? Everybody knows when it's a BS moment, right? Yeah. Social good component, meaning that millennials really do love that give back component, and Tom's really set the game here. That one-for-one model really rocked the world, right? Now, maybe J.Hilburn eventually can think about what a social good component is down the line, but the fact that J.Hilburn does already take sustainability into consideration with how their labor workers, with the factories that they work with, this is also something that's totally feeding into the values of this consumer group. So think about it. Think about the experience, the product that you already have to offer, all feeding into millennial values. And let me tell you this, you guys are the lucky ones here. People, other brands, other companies, other entrepreneurs have to think about the experience and what millennials value with an insurance industry or the financial services company. A little harder, a little less sexy. Fashion, sexy, trendy, hot, right? So I say this to empower you with, you have it all going for you in this room. We just need to understand the values and the mindset of this generation so that we can all create content and our marketing messaging to totally appeal to the millennial mindset. In our marketing efforts, let's get into some of the top marketing tactics that we should all be thinking about, doing additional research, and implementing into our businesses today and throughout the year, is that we need to think less traditional and more tradigital, a blend of traditional and digital. So, first things first, marketing tactics that are in, marketing tactics that are out, we must think mobile. If we're not thinking mobile first, we're missing out on a very big audience. On average, Google gets about 50 billion mobile searches a month. In 2019, this year, mobile phones will surpass TV, attracting the most minutes of attention in the US. Crazy, right? Think of how many damn channels there are on TV. Yet your little mobile device is commanding more minutes of your attention. That's something to think about right there. And where are people spending time on mobile? Social media, which should not come as a surprise, is why millennials are discovering things first on social. Who watches commercials anymore? Nobody. Fast forward, right? Your social media channel is a way to really get the message across and build brand awareness to the millennial consumer. How do we do that? Through our content marketing efforts. What is social media? It's a place to engage, it's a place to get inspired, it's a place to network, but it's all through the content we're creating and we're sharing on these channels. Content is king. Now, I have so many clients that I work with, they're like, I have, 5 blog posts, and I keep sharing them, and then I have this picture, and then I go look at their channels, and they haven't posted in 2 weeks. They haven't posted in a month. Okay, those 5 blog posts are great, but consistency is king. We have to keep consistent within our marketing efforts, within our content strategy. Again, why? Because there's so much clutter out there. And if we're not creating content that pops through the clutter, the competition will. Content is king. And if you guys aren't starting to think about what type of content you're creating and sharing through your channels, the time is now. Content is what fuels that consumer journey that we were talking about. Think about it. How are people going to move through the consumer journey from awareness to advocacy? Through the content you're creating and sharing on your channels. So what is the type of content that you could be creating to feed each stage of the consumer journey map for your client? Is this overwhelming, or is this like, oh, I get it a little bit? Get it? Okay, good. Right? So it's not just buy, sell, sell. We have to really romanticize our followers. We have to kind of lure them in through the content we're creating, through the stories that we're telling, so that we can move them through into consideration. You know what? I think that this product's for me. I think that this experience in personal styling totally checks my box, and I'm going to purchase. Retention is your opportunity. Retention will happen or not happen because of the experience you've provided to the customer. The better the experience, the more they're going to advocate for you and help bring more business to your business. Part of the consumer journey, we should be thinking about the content we're going to create and the formats of content that we can create to feed through the consumer journey and feed through our social channels. How many of you are currently blogging? Okay, not many. How many of you have ever done or participated in a podcast? Okay. Brand blogs or podcasts are all the rage. They are such an integral part of our marketing strategy today. And let me prove it to you. Nearly 60% of millennials have turned to a blog or social media post to validate a purchase. 47% of buyers viewed 3 to 5 pieces of content before even engaging in a sales rep. So we are constantly consuming information to justify our next step. And content that we're creating and sharing could be the reason why someone takes the next step or doesn't. 53% of marketers say blogging is their top content marketing priority. Now, you know how we always are talking about traffic? How do we get more traffic to our website? How do we get more traffic to our social channels? How do we attract more followers? We have to give them a reason to come, right? They're not just going to come because they're going to come. We have to attract them to come. We have to will them over to come. And the content, whether it's a blog or a vlog is a video blog, so some written content but some video, or social media post, are all wonderful ways of creating more traffic back to your channels, back to your business. Speaking of content and speaking of content formats, video is so important. Now I have another word in front of the word video, and that's micro. I'm not talking about 10-minute videos. I'm not talking about 5-minute videos. I'm actually talking about 30-second to 90-second videos. Snapchat, you can only post so many seconds of a post, and it's only there for 24 hours. Micro, real time, right? You have to hook them or they're gone. Think about Instagram stories. If you post a video to Instagram stories, you only have a few seconds, not minutes, right? 60 seconds equals a minute, obviously, like a minute max you kind of have. So we have to be thinking micro. We have to be thinking bite size. And when it comes to video, the influence is insane. And it's getting larger and larger every year. Video marketing accounts for 69% of all consumer traffic. 69%. 96% of shoppers find videos helpful when making purchasing decisions online. And 51% of marketing professionals worldwide name video as the type of content with the best return on investment. Now, within video, we have the opportunity to create an experience and storytell to our audience way more than a static post on Instagram will ever do, right? You know, when we read copy, whether it's just a blog or an article, we have the opportunity to kind of, interpret that the way we read it. Whereas in video, it's a little bit more straight to the point. It also creates that visual that pops through the clutter. So if you guys aren't thinking about video quite yet, or maybe a little intimidated at the thought of video, time is now to start getting more comfortable. Growth doesn't come from staying in our comfort zones, right? And in order to push the marketing boundary for ourselves, we might have to do things that make us a little uncomfortable. And no one's perfect. Your first video might not be the best video you've ever created, but you have to start somewhere. And maybe you have some millennials working on your team. Maybe you can have a collaboration opportunity with your children to play around with video and how you can start thinking about it for your social channels and how you can communicate your marketing messaging and the experience you have to offer and the products that you have to offer to your customer through a visual component like video. Video does help boost traffic and retention. The average user spends 88% more time on a website with video. Viewers retain 95% of a message when they watch it in a video compared to 10% when reading text. Pretty startling. Of course, we must have a social strategy. In thinking about all this content we're creating, where are we sharing it? On social media. And if some of you have, how many of you, aside from your Pearl, your J.Hilburn Pearl, how many of you have a personal website? Okay. Your personal website can also house all these blogs and videos and images to also then share on your social channels, kind of creating that ping pong effect with traffic. So if you don't have a personal website, maybe in 2019 this is your year to build off of your Pearl website. Because on your personal website, you can always connect to your Pearl for J.Hilburn. So you can kind of create this digital ecosystem for yourself within your branding, within your marketing, within your content creation, so that your digital footprint this year is going to get bigger and bigger. You're going to create more of an impact in the digital landscape. The bigger the impact, the bigger brand awareness, the bigger customer base. Now, thinking about micro, this is a true statement, and many of you might know this from your children, is that this generation, me and my peers, have the attention span of about a goldfish. And think about it, how much are we multitasking all day long? How many of you walk into your kid's bedroom and they're doing their homework, they're listening to music, the TV's on, and they have Facebook open all at the same time? We are hyper multitaskers, which are also creating us to have a shorter attention span, which is why thinking bite size, thinking micro is the way to go. Okay, so some of you are saying, oh, just talking about all this content. What am I going to create? What can I create for my channels, for my customer base? Here's some inspiration of all different types of content that everyone in this room could absolutely be thinking of how to utilize, create, and share within your personal channels. GIF and meme, a link to a promotion. So maybe J.Hilburn has a promotion going on, right? Link to a specific service, your personal styling, a webinar video training. So maybe you actually do a video training of how to put an outfit together, how to take an outfit from blah to fabulous, right? All these different great things that you could create in video to be creating more visual content for your channel. A blog post, a quote, industry news, an upcoming event. Maybe you're hosting a pop-up shop, or you're attending an event like a Bloomingdale's event and you're styling. You know, we're at events all the time. We're at an event right now. There's so many different formats that we could start thinking about to diversify the type of content we create and share with our audience so that it's not redundant and the same thing over and over again. You know what it all boils down to? For every one of you in this room, you are your biggest and best marketing tool. Your personal brand, your story, your messaging, your effort to connect with your consumer is so important to further build your customer base. As a stylist, you are representing your business. You are representing all the products that you work with, right? So as stylists today, because we have access to social media, all these creative mediums that we could be sharing our expertise and showing our creativity on to market to our clients. And Instagram has so many amazing features to really take advantage of this year within your social media efforts. So let's get into it. If any of you have Instagram, I welcome you to pull it up because I'm going to talk about some of the key features here, and it might be great for you to see it in real time. And if anybody has a quick question as I kind of go through this, feel free to raise your hand. Okay, so I created a mock J.Hilburn Instagram so that you could see how I would brand my Instagram profile. And this is all inspiration for how all of you could do it for yourselves as well. So, first things first. See the red circle around my headshot here? That is where you could create Instagram stories. How many of you do create Instagram stories already? Okay, so we're familiar with Instagram stories. Stories are such an amazing opportunity for you to drop in content and also create more marketing messaging and content and storytelling for your audience. So this headshot's very important on all of your personal Instagram channels. I want to make sure that all of you this year have a professional, clear headshot representing you and your brand professionally and clearly on your channels. I know that J.Hilburn did do headshots. So if that is an opportunity to take advantage of this year or soon, go for it. If not, invest in getting a personal headshot for yourself to make your profile picture across all channels. This is also where on your profile you can start to create your stories. We'll talk more about that. Okay, next section is the bio. This bio is the first impression that somebody has of you when they come onto your profile. Who are you and what do they do, right? So first and foremost, everybody should represent J.Hilburn Stylist for Men in some capacity on their bio, of course, so that you are already aligning yourself with a product that you offer to your customer. And then share a little bit about yourself in your bio. Make people start to have a connection and relate to you in efforts to want to work with you, right? What are things that resonate with you that you could share on your bio that appeal to your target customer? That next arrow is Linktree. How many of you currently have dropped in a link on your Instagram bio already? Perfect. Okay, so that link on your Instagram bio is so precious. Why is it so precious? Because on Instagram posts, you can't drop in a clickable link, which is really frustrating at times, right? Especially if you want to drive traffic somewhere else. Linktree is the way to work around this conundrum, and we'll get to that as well. I just want to make point that that link is very coveted in your Instagram profile in particular because of the only ability to drop in a link in that one place. So we're going to talk more about Linktree and how everyone could use it to further enhance their efforts as well. Now, these little circles down here are called highlights. Highlights are a great additional marketing asset on Instagram for you to highlight your most important things. So for example, J.Hilburn. In that highlight, if you were to tap on it, You could have all these different products offerings, all these different shirts, sports coats, tucks, belts, right? So that we're kind of featuring some of the products we offer to our customers. Season trends, client looks. These are going to actually be true clients of yours of how you pieced outfits together for them. On the blog, if you're starting to do more blogging, you can create a highlight that drives the traffic back to your blog. Testimonials. We all know the power of peer feedback, right? We just talked about the influence and what other people have to say about us. Testimonials could absolutely help you convert more customers of having those happy client testimonials present on your social channels or on your website. And work with me, right? Tying it back to, hey, get in touch with me so that we could figure out if we're a right fit and if I could be your stylist. So this is just a mock-up of an optimized Instagram profile that everybody can use as inspiration of going back and creating it for themselves. Now, most of you have millennial children, which is fantastic. So you could show them this and say, help me create mine. And have them really teach you how to do it so that you know how to do it for yourself ongoing. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a tutorial, but it would be great to actually sit down with someone and work through it as well. Or if you have millennials on your team, of course, this is all second nature to them. So we want to use stories to feed our highlights. Remember, we had the story right at the top where my headshot is, and then those are the highlights. So in order to create those highlights, we actually have to feed the story. So we upload things to our story, and in turn, here is what a story looks like. So stories allow you to post as much content as possible. The custom sale, classic modern neon, best account on Instagram, see how those are 3 different frames? Each thing you post to a story is called a frame. And you could post you could have as many frames as possible on Instagram story. You could post 10 things a day, right? So Instagram stories is a great way to feed content to your Instagram without natively posting a picture on your feed. There's so many amazing things that you could do in stories, like uploading a promotional graphic. You can actually write anything you want. You could tag anybody, whether it's J.Hilburn or a personal client of yours. So there's such great ways for you to get creative in the way you're sharing marketing messaging through your stories and also attracting a customer to get in touch with you through your stories. Now see the first red arrow there. Before you hit publish on an Instagram story, you have the opportunity to feed it to Facebook, and you have the opportunity to feed it to a highlight. So this is how you convert your stories into highlights. Now, what's the point of a highlight versus story? Stories only live for 24 hours, kind of like the Snapchat model. So if you want something to live on your channel all the time, that's why you share it into a highlight. A highlight is going to be there as long as you want it there. So if you want just to be like, all right, I want to get the lay of the land of how stories work and highlights work, I welcome you to check out my Instagram at Chelsea Krost. And you can see how strategically I promote certain things in my highlights and how I direct traffic to different service offerings with mine. So it could also be a great way, a great channel for inspiration of how you can apply it to you and your business. Yes. Uh-huh. Yes. Thank you so much for bringing that up. She said, should she have a business account or a private account? I want to say, first and foremost, how many of you have private accounts right now? All of you are missing out on so much traffic. Why are you private? Do you work for the FBI? Do you work for the CIA? Are you in the witness protection program? If you are not, make it public right now. Without being public, people cannot engage in you. They can't learn from you. They can't get inspired from you. They can't connect with you. Whether it's a business or personal, doesn't really matter. I actually would love all of the stylists to have personal Instagrams because you are the representation of your business. And there's not much differentiation anyway. So a personal public Instagram is fantastic. And for those of you who are private, absolutely make it public. You're missing out on so much traffic. You're missing out on growing a follower group. Yeah. You should be able to, in your settings, see a public or private setting. I would have to look at it. So I could, as soon as I get off stage, I can look at it really quick. But it should be in your settings. You see someone find it? Yeah, it should prompt you. It should absolutely be a public, just in your settings.
Guys, let's let her go through her presentation, and if you have questions, we are happy to walk you through it after completely. But let's continue. Thank you.
Yes. And your children will definitely know how to make it public for you too. So, and just a quick thing, and I always say this to my mom and dad and aunts and everything that are just like, you know, kind of get a little paralyzed when it comes to social media. Take a deep breath if you don't know how to do something and simply Google it. Or simply type it into YouTube, and you'll get a visual explanation of how to do it. So just don't worry. Always think Google or YouTube if you don't know how to do it. My husband and I moved into our first home 6 months ago, and we started looking out for all these independent contractors to work with for electric and plumbing. We couldn't believe how expensive. Somebody wanted like $300 to hang a TV. It's like ridiculous. So my husband goes, you know what, I'm just gonna YouTube a few things. Next thing I knew, he was doing our faucet, hanging our lights. YouTube University, everybody. You could get all the information and more on YouTube of how to do something, especially through social media. Okay, so remember we talked about Linktree. Linktree is this link that you can create for yourself on your Instagram channel. Now, don't get overwhelmed by this, because as soon as you go home and you type in Linktree on your desktop, everything prompts you so easily of how to create one for yourself. It is simply a copy and paste Linktree. If you want to copy and paste the links that you want to feature and drop it in, right? See add new button there? You would click that, and then it would open it to drop in a hyperlink, and you would copy and paste the link and drop it in. And then you can decide what you want to feature on your Linktree. So take a look at what I have. So within my first one here, I dropped in one of my MSNBC clips, which is social media mistakes that could hurt your sales. Right? That's great content for what service offerings I provide, right? Someone might need to be, you would think that a lot of my clients are in need of optimizing their social media to help convert more sales. So I'm going to make sure to put that piece of content in my Linktree for awareness, for recognition. How to work with me. So you could drop in your Pearl link. You could drop in your blog post link. So this Linktree, the purpose of me bringing this up is to help drive your traffic to where you want them to go. Right? We can't just expect that they're going to go onto your service page and book a consultation with you. We have to direct them. We have to drive them. We have to guide them. We have to make it like hit them in the face with it. And Linktree allows us to kind of drive traffic to different links in Instagram, because Instagram doesn't allow us to just drop in links to each of our native posts. So this is an amazing marketing tool to further go home and explore, do with your children, do with your team, because most importantly, you could drop your Pearl link into Linktree, driving more traffic to your business. And here is a perfect example. So I created this mock Linktree. So if someone were to click the link on the, if you go to my profile later and you click my Linktree, you'll see the drop-down menu that pops up just like this. And then you can literally decide what you want to click on. So if I was a J.Hilburn stylist, this is exactly how I would create my Linktree. Shop J.Hilburn custom menswear. Drop in the link to jhilburn.com. Right? Let people see all the different great clothing and the quality of the J.Hilburn brand. Book a styling session with me. That call to action is pretty clear, right? Book a call with me. That's where you could drop in your Pearl link. Join my J.Hilburn team for recruiting purposes. Oh, she's hiring. Visit my website or blog. If you want to drive them to a blog post, you want to drive them to a personal website, right? So think about all the ways that you could further drive traffic with customizing a Linktree for yourself. Is that all kind of making sense? Okay, great. Okay, getting into one of the biggest marketing tactics of our time, influencer marketing. We touched a little bit about it, right? We know that peer-to-peer influence is essential. That's what influencer marketing is. It is peer approval. It is influencers, relatable people within an industry, whether it's fashion influencers, finance influencers, political science influencers, that are creating content on behalf of a brand. Influencer marketing is the fastest growing online acquisition method. Pretty impressive, right? The main purpose of influencer marketing, sales and leads, and brand exposure. I like to call influencers modern day digital publicists. Didn't we all have to hire public relation firms to get our brand message out there? Now all we have to do is collaborate with an influencer. So they're little mini publicists that can help bring more brand awareness to your brand and business. Now, before I move on, I want everyone to think of influencers this way. You all are influencers in this room, activating on behalf of J.Hilburn. Aren't you bringing more brand awareness to J.Hilburn by dropping in your Pearl link or visit J.Hilburn custom menswear line, right? You're helping bring influence to the J.Hilburn brand. So think about your stylists, think about your team, and how your team are influencers for your business. So everybody has influence today, and we need to leverage that influence as much as possible to bring as much brand awareness and engagement and customers back to our business. The proof is really in the ROI when it comes to influencer marketing. 94% of marketers said influencer marketing is an effective practice and can generate up to 11 times the ROI of traditional advertising. Your stylist team are of your biggest marketing asset you have. All of your stylists who are creating content and bringing more brand awareness back to your business, you're basically implementing influencer marketing. So that's why when I talk about a team meeting, when you guys go home, to talk about social strategy, content marketing, messaging, defining who we want to target within the Millennial demo, once that strategy is put into place, everyone's going to influence through their social channels. Influencer marketing is dominating. 70% of millennials prefer product endorsements by non-celebrity bloggers. Because think about it, when you see a Selena Gomez on Coach, you know she got like how many millions of dollars to be in that ad. Versus an influencer who's passionate about fashion and lives for fashion and is at all these different fashion events. And they've partnered with a brand that they love to bring more awareness to that brand. It's more authentic, it's more relatable, it's more transparent. Microblogger communities create a big impact, and this is going back to my point of you are influencers. Your team all has influence to further all bring it back to the point of purchase. There's micro-influencers, there's macro-influencers, but you don't have to have 1 million followers today to create influence. So how can you look at yourself as an influencer to bring the awareness back to your business? How can you look at your team as all influencers to create a bigger impact in the social space? Empower your team with the entrepreneurial mindset that they all really thrive off of, right? Their influence matters, and so does yours. 92% of marketers say Instagram is the most important social platform for influencer marketing, which is why I took the time to really talk about how to optimize your social profile for Instagram. You're welcome. And how to leverage all of the amazing marketing features that Instagram offers just on that one channel. 87% of influencers choose Instagram as their #1 platform in 2018. Look at the difference compared to all those other channels. This is why we need to start thinking of Instagram. And let me tell you, Instagram's really, really fun. And it's really not complicated once you start really, getting in there and playing around with it and taking the time to maybe YouTube a few videos. It's truly more second nature than not. User-generated content versus traditional advertising. Why is influencer marketing so powerful? Because it's all user-generated content, right? It's all these customers or stylists creating content on behalf of J.Hilburn. User-generated content is that peer-to-peer approval. User-generated content could be what I posted in my Instagram story yesterday, which is probably still there, of a selfie of me in the car, heading to Dallas, can't wait to teach my Millennial Marketing Formula workshop to all the J.Hilburn stylists. And I tagged J.Hilburn. User-generated content, right? That one selfie post just brought traffic back to J.Hilburn. User-generated content is incredibly powerful. 93% of consumers find UGC to be helpful in making a purchasing decision. UGC is also those reviews that we read on Yelp all the time. That's all user-generated, right? It wasn't brand-generated, user-generated, customer-generated. And then when you have customer reviews on your social media channel, on your website, it can increase conversions by 74%. And that's why I wanted to show you that testimonial highlight. Very important to share your happy client feedback. UGC videos on YouTube get 10 times more views than content uploaded by a brand, right? It's like the billboard messaging from a brand, no offense, we know it's branded, right? Versus a fashion influencer or blogger you love, you're probably gonna be more inclined to watch that video than a standard commercial, right? Co-creation versus no customization. Well, for you guys, this is so easy because as a personal stylist, it's all about customizing and co-creating with your client, right? You're not really bringing, unless they say, hey, just bring me shirts and I don't want to think about it, you're really creating it with them, really building their wardrobe with them. This is something we so thrive off of. We love to customize and co-create. Don't tell us what we can't do. We want to know what we can do. Now, an email lead magnet versus no email offer opt-in. So for any of you who are looking to build an email list, how many of you are growing an email list right now? Some of you, okay. Your email list is a very important database for you. All of your current customers, right, so that you can continue to engage in them throughout the year. You can remind them about discounts or offers or holiday specials, or just reminding them, hey, don't forget about me when you're ready to shop next. On your personal website, for those of you who might be interested this year to launch one, I suggest that everybody be thinking about building their email list. The bigger your email list, the bigger your opportunity to constantly remind people what you do and what you have to offer. Email marketing really can create great sales for yourself. Now, to encourage people to opt in to your email, how many times do you get that pop-up window of like, first name and email and you hit X, right? Usually it's because they're not incentivizing you to opt in. So I always say, think of what your juicy carrot is. What's that hook that's gonna make someone not even think twice about giving you their email? Think of the value you can give them for free. So you give them something for free, so you get something in return, which is their email address. So I'm all about helping entrepreneurs and businesses increase their visibility, influence, and profits, right? That's what I'm here to talk to you about right now. So I have 7 ways to increase your visibility, influence, and profits as a lead magnet to opt into my website, right? So I'm giving you value, further incentivizing you to give me your email address so that I can continue to engage in you, build relationship with you, market to you ongoing. Does that make sense about that freebie mentality? Now, this is going back to the consumer journey here. All of this content, whether it's your freebie, your videos, your highlights, your stories, your blog, all of this content is ultimately feeding your consumer journey map. So here is a mock consumer journey map that I've created to give you inspiration of all the wonderful content formats and social activations and marketing tactics that are relevant within each stage of the buyer's journey. Now, we're moving into the end of our presentation, and I'm gonna kind of move through a little fast because We also, when talking about the millennial mindset, when talking about the next generation of consumers, it's also created a shift in the way we work as a generation. There is a new way to work as there is a new way to market to the millennial consumer group or the millennial population. And what do I mean by new way to work? Who's heard of the term gig economy? Not many? Okay. So the gig economy has changed the game. The gig economy has created the increase in independent contractors, which is everybody here in the room, right? How many of you have ever had a conversation with a millennial and you go, what do you do? And they go, oh, I'm a hairstylist, I'm a web developer, I'm a makeup artist, and I blog on the side. Yeah. We're the hyphen generation because we can. We have the ability to utilize all of our skill sets differently because of the access that the internet's providing us today. So this is creating a new mindset in the way that employees or independent contractors think about where they want to work or how they want to work. More than 44 million Americans have a side hustle. 40% of American workers will be independent contractors by 2020, next year. So what do millennials value in a job? Flexibility, financial freedom, community, purpose, growth. Millennials are truly entrepreneurial at heart because of the access and resources we've grown up with, right? We've all grown up building our community and digital footprint online without really thinking about it from a business perspective, but think about the ability to market because we have 500 Facebook followers, we have 5,000 Instagram followers that we've just been building organically. So that's the reason why we have the ability to be this hyphen generation. That's why we have the ability to tap into different skill sets, to do multiple things. And this is truly the mindset of this generation in the workplace today. So here's some past work mentality versus present and future work mentality that millennials do value. Working 9 to 5, that clock in thing. You know, the clock in, clock out. What? Today, we can work at any time because all we need to have is access to our phone to answer an email or to do a conference call, right? Work in a corporate office versus remote work. As a personal stylist, your office is where your client is, right? So think about, as I keep going through past and future, start to think about your day-to-day job. Start to think about your team, what it means to work for you, and how that's fitting with the millennial values of where they want to work and how they want to spend their time in the workplace. There's a lot of alignment here, which is my point. Climb the corporate ladder versus create your own ladder, right? There's so much opportunity for growth within personal styling, within working with J.Hilburn, within working for you, right? There's all these different benchmarks. Millennials want to know that there's growth opportunity. They won't hit a ladder or a plateau. And we love the opportunity to know that there's opportunity to grow from within. Predefined work versus customized work, meaning, you come to the work every day and this is what you do every day. It's in a box every day. Versus personal styling, I'm sure your day-to-day changes quite frequently, right? You could have 10 clients today, you can have 2 clients tomorrow, you can have 2 millennials and 3 baby boomers, right? So think about the differentiation. There's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all when it comes to styling. Every client's different. Hoards information versus shares information. So that whole competition in the workplace thing, millennials don't really get that. Because think about how we've grown so accustomed to sharing everything online, right? Going back to what we had for breakfast. Or who are you, it's so funny is that you're not officially in a relationship today unless you're FBO, Facebook official. Me and my husband weren't engaged for a while because I didn't think about it. And my brother called me one day and he was like, do you have something to tell me? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, then why aren't you engaged on Facebook? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the reality. We're about sharing information. We're about empowering each other. What I mean about talk to your team about how do we use Instagram more? How do we create content more? Help me share your information with me of how to optimize my channel. We are a collaborative generation. We want to share, we want to engage, we want to learn from each other. That reverse mentorship role is very important to us. No voice versus, of course, becoming a leader, first pursuing your entrepreneurial endeavors. Past just relying on one form of communication like email versus there are so many ways to communicate today, whether it's an Instagram direct message, LinkedIn Messenger, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Skype, FaceTime, right? We have to be a little bit nimble in being able to communicate with our team or our client in their preferred method of communication, right? We can't just say, I don't talk to anybody unless it's in an email. That's a way to probably turn a lot of millennial customers off. Corporate learning and teaching versus DIY service training. This literally comes back to just Google it, just YouTube it. We are the DIY generation. We love to self-teach. We love to self-learn. And these are all the aspects of what we all have in this room, the ability to do with working with J.Hilburn and empowering our team as you are the leaders of your teams, right? So those were all some of the things that were working in the past versus what the millennials are thinking about for the present and future workplace, but also work life, because the workplace is becoming less and less as we are this more remote work society, as this more independent contractor society. So when it comes to recruiting a bigger team, how can we leverage social media to do that? In many of ways. Some of the top ways to recruit on some of the top platforms to recruit just on social media are actually through your LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook channels. And not just the business channels, your personal channels. So how can we do that through our social channels? Create content that highlights what it means to work for you and what it means to work with you. This is where the power of your personal brand, the power of your story, the power of your experience in what it means to work with you and for you can be shared to interest and recruit new hires. Tell us what a day-to-day likes for you. As a leader of your team, what do you look for in team members? What's the experience like with working for you and with you? This is all things that you can communicate through content, through your channels, with recruiting purpose in mind, whether it's a YouTube video, whether it's a blog post, whether it's a static post, just a photo you've uploaded, right? So you can use different content formats to highlight what it means to work with you and for you. Highlighting what it means to work with you and for you could be the reason why somebody wants to submit their resume or not to you. Does that make sense? It's like, show, don't tell. Show them what it means to work with you. Show them what it means to work for you. That's ultimately going to interest them or not. And the people that are looking for the same values that you have and how you operate and run your business are going to gravitate to you if you're sharing it with them. They won't know unless you share it, right? So a few ways to look at social recruiting is to host a live Instagram or Facebook Q&A. How many people get shivers up their spine when I say live stream? So I get it. It is intimidating. However, live streaming is so powerful, and it's popping through the clutter more than any content format out there, even more than native posting a video. Live means it's live, it's real time, it's now. It's also an opportunity for you to storytell, share what it means to work with you, show what it means to work with you, and it's also a way to do real-time engagement. So in live stream, people are able to comment and ask a question, and then you're able to answer it. Two-way dialogue, right? You're not talking at them, you're talking with them. And live streaming is a great opportunity to do that, especially if you're in that recruiting mindset. It's also really not hard to go live on Facebook or Instagram. So if that's something you haven't done or want to look into more, easy to Google, easy to YouTube, easy to talk to your team about doing it. Use hashtags wisely. So look at all of these posts right here that populated after I simply just typed in hashtag stylist jobs. These are all posts about hiring. This is what I mean about the power of social recruiting. You have to let them know what the opportunity is for them to be able to act on it, right? So let them know you're hiring. Use hashtags wisely to pop through the clutter. So someone could be looking for a specific styling job in NYC or a specific styling job in Dallas, right? So how can you use hashtags to help really get to the right people who are looking for recruiting opportunities? Understand your social insights and audience behavior. I am so excited that right before I got on stage, there was a lot of data conversations. Data is so not boring. It's actually the sexiest thing alive. Because the better you understand your audience, the better you can market to them, right? So understanding your insights and audience behavior, meaning the top times to post, your most popular days, what content got the most traction. On your profile on Instagram, there's those 3 little bars in the top right corner. If you click those top 3 bars, it's going to take you to that next second frame there, and you see insights with the red arrow. When you click insights, it's going to take you to the 3rd frame, and you see there's 3 arrows: activity, content, audience. Activity is going to tell you all the top activity going on your channel. Content is going to tell you the content that's generating the most interest. Okay, understanding what content's generating the most interest allows you to create more of that type of content. Don't you want to know what your audience is liking so you can do more of it? That's why it's so important to understand your insights. An audience, meaning you really understand who is your audience. Where are they from? How old are they? What gender? So sexy to know who your audience is so that you can further personalize and customize your messaging to fit that audience. And here are some great ways to just motivate offline conversations. There's a platform called Meetup, and there's different categories. There is fashion and beauty, and there's different meetup groups in different states all over the country. If you're looking to do more in-person networking, create a Facebook event and host an offline conversation at a coffee shop, at your house. Wherever just encourage the conversation offline for in-person networking as well. There's a lot of groups for stylists on LinkedIn. You can encourage offline conversation by participating in different Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups. So a great way to create conversations offline is by starting them online. There are so many events throughout the year when it comes to tech, fashion, food, and marketing. No better opportunity to network in real time, network in person, build relationships, hand out your business card. If you just type in upcoming blogger events 2019, you will get a hit list of different events that might be worthwhile for you this year if recruiting is top of mind. Fashion trade shows, fairs, expos, small business conferences. To learn, get inspired, create content from on the ground. How much content can you capture if you're at an event like a magic trade show, right? So you're capturing all this content, you're building relationships, and then you can use all of that content to then repurpose through your channels. So there's like multi-prong approach by attending these events. Create a LinkedIn personal and company page. I said this right off the top. It's a must, right? It's our living digital profile, living digital resume. And also, I really would suggest that everybody has a personal page. And if you have a developed company or if you have a very large team, then it might be worthwhile for you to explore a company page as well. If you're a leaner, meaner team, then a personal page is all you need for now. And in social recruiting, just remember to make it clear why someone would want to work with you. And remember, all the values that Millennial look for in the workplace, I would imagine all of those things you have to offer to your team, wouldn't you say? Whether it's because you're their leader or because J.Hilburn is the product they have to work with. So again, you're so lucky in this room of all the great elements that are working for you in your marketing efforts and in recruiting. So just think about what you have to offer and how it aligns to that millennial mindset so that you could create the right content. And this just sums it up. As a J.Hilburn independent personal stylist, you enjoy the flexibility that comes along with being an independent contractor to set your own hours, make your own rules, achieve your own goals, build a business and create a life that fits. It's like 7 values right there, right? Yes. So again, we have so much working for us in this room. It's just about understanding the mindset, creating the right strategy to appeal to that target audience, and create that content strategy to feed that consumer journey so that we're starting to make them more aware of what we do, what we have to offer, and bring them further and further into that purchasing decision. It all boils down to, when all else fails, just remember the 6 C's. Connect, communicate, collaborate, creativity, consistency, and call to action. Call to action meaning, what do you want them to do? Book a call with me. Click on this blog post. Watch the video for people looking to get into personal styling, right? What do you want them to do? And let them know it in a call to action. Click here. Share this, right? Give them an action item if you want them to take action on something in particular. Be clear about it in your comment, in your description. When all else fails, just remember the 6 C's. So there was a lot of information, I know. Don't worry, have no fear. You will all get access to my membership site, members.chelseakrost.com. Here's your username and password. And on my membership site is my full Millennial Marketing Formula course. You have over 30 video trainings. You have great resources for download. This is such an amazing asset, not only for you, but for your team, to enhance your marketing efforts, enhance your marketing know-how, and get more savvy with social this year to help create a bigger customer base, attract more millennial customers, and drive more profits to your business. Sounds good, right? So you will all get this access to this, lifetime access. You can literally log in right now. It is available for you. And also, just an extra bonus, I am a LinkedIn instructor. So I do have a Marketing to Millennials course, a personal branding course, and in February, launching an influencer marketing course, which is all available to LinkedIn Premium members. Anybody LinkedIn Premium? All free and available for you and your team. On top of the membership site where you have all this marketing know-how, I really suggest you tuning into the personal branding course because, again, as stylists, you are the best representation of your business. You are your best marketing tool, and your personal brand is really wrapping that all up in a nutshell and building that digital footprint. So the time is now to think millennial. Time is now to think about your personal brand. And of course, for any of you who have follow-up questions or maybe want a one-on-one coaching opportunity, this is all what I do and all what I love, and I really love working with solo entrepreneurs. So feel free to, I thought my email was up there, but it's not. Feel free to email me at chelseakrost@gmail.com. Pretty easy to remember. I also have a contact form on my website. Feel free to reach out with any follow-up questions, or if you're looking to maybe even do a team workshop for your stylists. These are all things that I do: one-on-one coaching, virtual coaching, and I have wonderful testimonials on my website that will tell you how people's experiences is working with me on one-on-one as well. So thank you so much. I hope that brings more inspiration, insight. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.